This week on the show, JJ talks us through Morphettville Park's bit of wind around. I go to Caulfield, good, possibly a soft with some rain. The Chute and the Circle. Real interesting intel of how I think that track's going to play, so you need to listen out for that. Foxcatcher, Underwood Stakes in particular here. 1,600 metre horses first up. What we asked JJ what he does with these horses, how he prices them. Some really nuggets of gold in that. He gives us our set for Adelaide. He's been going really well. I give my set for Caulfield. Snaps and don't snaps. There's 5 don't snaps, so we think keep your powder dry until really late in betting for those. And then obviously pin the tail. Last week it was Pride of Jenny. Yep, it's 5-4 my way. This week it's Pericles. He's about $3.10 in the market at the moment. Interesting to see what price JJ has and I have for that horse. Welcome to the Jules and JJ show. Hello and welcome to the Jules and JJ show. My name's Julian Valance, joined remotely in Adelaide Hills. James Jordan, how'd you get through the week, JJ? Quickly, we're going to talk about this horse at the end, but well done on a Samurai Mind on Saturday. He got the job done for you and you probably went out and didn't sleep for a couple of days?
Yeah, something like that. Something like, you know me too well. Yeah, right, a cup of tea and a Scotch finger and I was in bed by 8:30. But no, it was a good win. It was good to see him get the job done after 7 weeks off. Wasn't easy. Probably felt the pinch a little bit late, but he was good. It was a good day, actually. Tarnished somewhat by the last race where Raw Grunt came out pig rooting. And one of the faithful watchers had a multi, had $100 on it to collect $140,000 on Raw Grunt, and it came out bucking. So...
and was $8 into, I think, just about starting favourite as well. So
yeah, it was.
He got that part right.
Not a great result for him.
And just quickly on that, for the punters out there, for a little bit more context, I think he hit you up sort of before that race to say, what should I do? And
he sent me
being the skirt-wearing individual you are.
I'll tell you, the cash out, it's a source of demise and just bad times, those cash outs. Yeah. It's a bane of a lot of people.
Never pick the right
the right way. You regret it for the rest of your life. Whereas when it didn't exist, you had no choice. You had to let it ride. But he did. He sent me through a screenshot before Raw Grunt. So he watched the preview, thought he liked the way I talked about a Samurai Mind. He watched Saturday morning. I said Zarkana was too short and I didn't recommend backing it. So he left that out. So he had a 4-leg multi, $100. And they had all won up until Raw Grunt. The first 3 had won Press Down, Andrew's Memory, a Samurai Mind, all up into Raw Grunt. His cash out for 100 was 16,000 something. He sent me through the screenshot. Yeah. I said, mate, I would take the cash out. I don't know what it means to you, but 16,000 for 100 is a good result. I thought I'd talked him into it. After a pig rooted, I sent him a text, a message on Twitter. Did you cash out? No, I let it ride. So unlucky.
Actually, after you mentioned that to me, and I was like, well, you just cash out, put the 6 on Raw Grunt, maybe you've got 10 for your 100 and you move on, and then if Raw Grunt wins, you get another 6 on it anyway. It's easy in hindsight, but good on him for doing that, and hopefully you get better and you get all the winners, mate, instead of just 3 out of the 4. So maybe this week. All right, let's start off with the track intel. Okay, JJ, fire away. Much to my delight, I noticed that the rail is somewhat near the true. It might even be in that position.
It is. It's in the true, which is good. We've been out, obviously, probably most of the last 6 meetings have been out, varying distances, but we're in true on Saturday. Good 4. There's a little bit of like mild scattered showers around Friday and Saturday, but I think we'll be on a good 4. The Park's track does drain very well, so working on that. The wind is going to be a factor. 34 kilometre westerly, which is a headwind in the home straight. Probably from the 1,400 metre chute, which is the 1250 and the 1400s, and even the back straight, which is 1550, they'll have a tailwind the first probably 400 or 500 metres of the race, which might help those horses rolling forward early. And then in the straight, it's going to be quite a stiff headwind. So might be, if you're peeling out exposed to it, it might be hard to make up a bit of ground. But we'll see how that plays. I reckon the track will play pretty fairly. The true is not a bad position. You can generally make a little bit of ground, and it's not going to be really fast with the mild conditions around. So expecting it to race pretty evenly.
All right, very good. That's the intel for Morphettville Parks on Saturday, and that wind might have some impact, and probably those last sort of 300 metres might be a little bit slower than usual, so be careful of that when you're reviewing that meeting. Let's get to Caulfield for Underwood Stakes Day. The rail's out 6 metre the entire circuit. Now, I've got good/soft because obviously last week I thought Flemington would hold up, but then obviously a typhoon came and we ended up with lots of rain, and I think for probably in rarest hen's teeth, we ended up on a heavy track at Flemington. You don't see that at all. This week, I've sort of just played my cards, neither here nor there. If we get the rain up to 6 mils on Friday night and then up to, say, 3 or 4 mils on Saturday, we may touch the soft range, but at the moment, good 4. So I think, look, good 4, soft 5, not much between them. I think every horse gets their chance in terms of handling the conditions. Bit like Adelaide as well. There's a bit of wind about on Saturday in Melbourne, 25 to 35 kilometre northwesterly. Now, we know it's important at Caulfield, so what does this actually mean? Well, it's sort of a headwind in the chute, but it's coming from the left of them, okay? So outside barriers in the chute might be a big advantage. It's going to be hitting them bang on right in the face, sort of if you've drawn 1, 2, 3 and you're leading. So just be mindful of that as they really go around the corner. It's going to be right in their faces, and it gets up to 35 kilometres an hour. It's going to have some impact, so the jockeys might ride accordingly. Chute, forward of midfield and advantage, so that's up to 1,200 metres. Leaders plus, but just also be mindful of the fact of that wind, that if it kicks up, that might again become a disadvantage. And the circle, just off speed is the sweet spot here. So back marker's okay, which is not often we say that at all. And the other factor here is around the circle, leaders are a bit of a low percentage play. So that's not to suggest leaders can't win, but just usually at Caulfield around the circle, it's a major plus. Not so much for these rail position and condition of the track. So be mindful of that around the circle, off speed, the sweet spot. That's the track intel for Morphettville Parks and Caulfield this week. Okay, Fox Factors this week. We bring this one up, JJ, because this actually intrigued me, just because of the Underwood Stakes over 1,800 metres, the Group 1 at Caulfield. Got 4 or 5 horses first up. So the key here is horses first up at 1,600 metres plus, and what you do when you're looking at the form. So I've got a couple of points here and then I'll let you roll into them. I think it's important to understand how long between runs the horses have got, whether it's, less than 100 days or you're working on 150 plus days. I think that has impact on how you price these horses. Do you forget first up stats? Because if you just go back and historically and look in the race book and you say first up, it doesn't actually take into account that maybe that horse was actually first up over 1,000, 1,100, 1,200 or 1,400. Could be the first time they're ever first up over this kind of distance. And I think the last one, which is most important when a horse is first up, probably in any circumstance, but I think it becomes really prevalent at 1,600 metres plus and obviously 1,800 metres on Saturday with the Underwood Stakes, is the market's your best friend. And usually if they actually hold their price or push in, they're ready to play. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, definitely market, very important. A couple of other things. Track condition. If they're first up at a mile, it's a heavy 10. I'd be really wary because the trainer can prepare them for a mile, but he can't prepare them for a heavy 10 or, a good 4. So track condition, a little bit of a factor. The other thing is I'll sometimes look, let's say a horse last prep went, 1,100, then second up 1,400, and it's first up at 1,400 this time around. I'll often look at that figure that it ran at 1,400 last prep, which was second up. But at least, that was sort of the first time it got to 1,400 for that prep, and maybe the trainer's done enough work in it with the horse, to get it to that point. The other thing about these sort of races this time of year is you also have to factor in that often there's maybe 2 or 3 horses that aren't at the level as the horses that are resuming are. There might be Group 1 horses coming back. There might be a sort of a handicapper that thinks, we're 4th up at 1,800. A lot of these horses are first up. Let's really make this a fitness test and let's take off at the 1,000, set a strong tempo. So it can actually be a really hard hit out for those horses that are first up as well. So I'd factor in the speed map a little bit and the predicted tempo and let that be a bit of a guide as well.
Yeah, I think the 3 ones that I've mentioned on the screen that you'll see there, punters, I think that last one that JJ mentioned is actually outstanding, Fox Factor in particular, because the tempo is so important for these horses first up. They can take the guts out of them, but they might not just be at 100% or 95% for those horses that are hard fit and ready to go. So that's a good point as well that you could add to that Fox Factor for this week. Okay, punters, here's the Group 1 set. Now, there's 2 races that are Group 1, and then people are going to be coming out of caves and off trees yelling at me and saying, hey, the 7 Stakes is not a Group 1 race, but we're going to consider it as a Group 1 race. So we're going to do 2 here. We'll start with the Underwood Stakes, JJ. Thought this is an interesting race. I'll just start with the map, because I think the map's really important how this race is going to be run on 1. And I think there's some outside speed, and to be specific, I think Deny Knowledge has drawn 9. Buckaroo rolled on speed last start when it won the Chelmsford, draws 10. And Pericles sort of rolled onto the speed at Moonee Valley last start when it was second up as well, has drawn 11. So It'll be interesting to see what those 3 jockeys do if they all try and follow over, because if they all do, one might actually end up posted if some other horses kick up. So I think that's really significant, and the one that's probably affected the most is the one that's drawn the widest out of those 3, which is the favourite, Pericles. How do you think this race evolves? Could you have a bet in it? What do you make of the Underwood Stakes?
I think you're right. I thought sort of 8, 9, Gates 8, 9, 10, 11 would all push forward. I thought Duke de Sessa, being that fit horse, might think it's got more of a chance of being in front of them rather than beating them for acceleration, given it's deeper into its prep. But I agree, Pericles, Blake Shin's going to have to make a decision, but there's sort of 4 that will push across. I thought it was hard. These Group 1 races are hard. They're not made any easier by the fact that to look through replays, you've got to have 3 different websites open. You know, these horses coming from Queensland, running in an Albury Cup as well, and then Victoria. You've got Racing Queensland, Racing New South Wales, Racing.com websites up to do the form. I mean, do we want to make it any harder for people to have a bet? Anyway, I'm distracted. Yeah. I thought it was a pretty even race. Like I certainly wouldn't be backing Pericles at 3:10. I've got it marked a bit longer than that. But the others, I mean, like Plastic Carousels, jumped out and trialled all right. It's hard to get a line. Yep. I want to see what the market does. So it's tricky. I thought Coco Sun could improve, but it hasn't got the Group 1 figures against older horses in the. I know it won a Derby in SA, but it hasn't got the same Group 1 figures that these other horses have got. So it's hard to know where it will measure up. But I did like its first up run. Just might not, might be better off maybe under handicap conditions, getting a bit more weight off some of these horses. But as far as having a bet, I haven't had a bet, but it's an interesting race.
Yeah, obviously some interesting points there with JJ. So you're suggesting someone should produce a website, my friend, that encompasses every state in Australia. Well, we talk about in one spot.
We talk about the turnovers dropped across the board and whatever, and we're all trying to work together. There's a national body called Racing Australia, whatever they do. Why wouldn't you have just a single website? And you'd have, I know they say, but we sell our advertising on our replays to different bookies and whatever. Do a deal with whichever bookmaker it is, the highest bidder, and work out a ratio. If 25% of the replays are watched in Racing New South Wales' jurisdiction, they get 25% of the takings. Work it out that way, but have a central site. Let's not discourage punters. Literally, while I was doing this race, I thought I'm getting to the point now where I can't be bothered flicking through each of these horses, typing in their names, searching, going like, it just made it hard. At the end of the day, we want people to gamble on this rather than sport. Let's make it as easy as we can, encourage them to do it. At the moment, it's an absolute joke, and Racing Australia and the PRA should be working together to put a proper site together that's done properly. We get all the replays in one spot. It do wonders for the industry, in my opinion.
All right, well, let's get on to the points bet powers to be, and let's get that to happen, okay? So TBC with that, JJ. After all that garbage, what about the 7 stakes up in Sydney? Small field, Fangirl goes around. She deserves favouritism. I'm not sure I can get her as short as what the market has, but I know that others would. I thought this again was an interesting map because from 9 she just goes back. She just takes the medicine, I think. But there's a bit in this, like Detonator Jack can probably sit leaders back. Royal Patronage can sit on speed. I think Major Beale winning first up over 1600 leading probably rolls forward. Zoo Gotcha we know sits on speed. Even Hinged is a horse that can sit on speed. So there's a bit of speed in it, but I think for Fangirl, the best situation for it is possibly to be a slowly run race, and instead of being 11 lengths behind, is 3 lengths behind, and it's a real tight, compact field because I don't care where she is. She's got the best turn of foot in this race by far.
I thought he might be able to slot in here midfield somewhere. Like the speed, like Gay's horses, Major Bill 5, Royal Patronage 7, they're the 2 that are going to go forward. They'll work it out. They won't cut each other's throat, obviously being from the same stable. But thought they'd push across. Hinged and Zoo Gotcha will kick up and use their gates. Probably look for that 1-1 and box seat position. Thought maybe in behind, you've got Zardozi, maybe Detonator Jack. He might be a chance of J Macker just slotting in just behind them. I reckon Navajo.
Does he take the risk though? If he misses and he ends up 3 wide, second up in her campaign, does it cook her for everything?
It'll be how she jumps. If she jumps in the last couple, he will not dig. I agree, he will not dig. If he jumps and he's there, he won't snap. I reckon he'll have a look without pushing her, have a look. If he thinks I can get in, he'll get it. If he doesn't, he'll then ease back. But he won't be niggling. He won't sort of get her out of her comfort zone the first 100 metres for the sake of positioning because she has got that turn of foot. But I just thought the cards might fall in the way where he can slot in. But the speed will be, as fast as Gay and Adrian want it to be. But I think I thought her run was very good the other day. I know Vias has seen a beater and they sort of carried on a bit about it, but I thought her run was just as good. Obviously, it cut the corner a bit for Sistina, and I think she'll be very hard to beat. I've got her marked a bit shorter than the market, actually. Got a 205. I don't think she'll start in the red. I think she'll beat black figures, but I think I'll be betting. I think I'll be backing Fangirl.
Okay, there you go, punters. One for JJ there in the 7 stakes. So that's the Group 1 set. Underwood Stakes, 7 stakes up in Sydney. Time now for JJ's SA set. Going well, JJ. Look through your numbers. So since we started this with PointsBet, plus 30% on your ROI. So you're going well, my friend. What do you got for us today?
Got 4 horses for Saturday that I'm going to put forward as bets. First one I reckon might be the best in race number 1. It's called Gold Rush Guru. This is a horse I tipped 2 runs back. Then last start, it stayed at the 12.50 and I was a bit worried. I thought it might want further, so I actually tipped against it, back to horse that ran second, luckily each way. Gets to 15.50 on Saturday. It goes back to its own age against the 3-year-olds. Now, it does carry 60 kilos, no claim, but it's a big horse. I think that won't be a problem. So I'm thinking it's going to be very, very hard to beat. The 3-year-olds it races against are pretty limited. So I'm going to make Gold Rush Guru in the first a bet. In race number 3, Bolshoi Princess comes over from your way, Victoria. It's 5th up. I like 5th up when they've had a 2,000 metre run under their belt as well. I think it just tops them off. So this is a chance it gets to peak. It's got a nice weight pool on the sort of favourite and third favourite in the market, who will both sort of pair off and sit 1-2. I reckon Bolshoi Princess can stalk them and be very hard to beat late. It needs to probably get up and attack them at the 600 or 500, but it's going to be very hard to beat, I think, Bolshoi Princess. So I'll make it a bet in race 3. Race 8, Longer Route. You had a look at that meeting at Morphettville last Saturday. Longer Route raced the race before a Samurai Mind. Ran very good time, rolled along at a good tempo. So I think it'll be very hard to beat again. It's only a moderate field. If it can back up that run from last week, it's certainly the horse to beat. And in the last race, Kinetic Jewel. This horse trialled, had a bit of time off, trialled very well at Murray Bridge, came over the top and was strong late. So I think it'll be in this race up to its ears. The thing I like about it is the tempo in the race. There's a heap of speed in it. It'll camp off them. You probably want to see a few making ground at the parks, but if they are making ground, I reckon Kinetic Jewel can finish off over the top. So there's 4, probably up in front of you. Gold Rush Guru, Bolshoi Princess, Longer Route and Kinetic Jewel. 3 out of 4 would be great.
Now for my set in Victoria. We've got a few here. Going to start off in race 1, number 8, Quantum Cat. We were against this horse last start because it was off 77 days, and if you watch this race, it runs 3rd behind Lording and Lincoln Rocks, and that race went sensationally. But its last 100 metres was its softest of the whole race, which is exactly what we thought. Now it's off 28 days, should be ready to absolutely peak again in this prep. I want to be with Quantum Cat. I think it's the right form line. I'm also backing the 14 Flamin' Romans, just because it's close to double figures. This horse is going really well, 2 wins this prep. Again, got form around Lincoln Rocks, which we've put into the hen house 3 or 4 times in Pandora's Fox. That form line's just outstanding. Went to Adelaide last start. I think we can follow that horse as well, Flamin' Roman. So I'm backing those 2. Then we go to race 4, and I'm against the favourite here, Silmarillion. I'm against it. I just think it's a little bit too short for what it did at Moonee Valley last start. So I'm going with a different form line, and it's a form line behind Private Life, which we'll see in a later race at Caulfield, obviously after race 4. So I'm with Delishi Boulevard, which is around $12, and I'm also with Lilac, which is around $5.50. I want to play those 2 horses in this race because I want the different form line. They both come out of, before that race behind Private Life, come out of 2 maidens, separate maidens, that rated really well with me. So I'm happy with that in that form race. Race 8 in the Underwood Stakes, I'm backing Buckaroo each way. I think Morera can get this horse to sit outside lead, deny knowledge, and probably park Pericles. If it does that, I think it's going to be mighty hard to beat. I've got that Chelmsford going okay last start. I think it's going to be a horse that can continue to improve Buckaroo here. And in the last race, a horse that's clearly in career best form, number 6, A Little Deep. 2 from 2 this prep. Beat Arkansas Kid last start, came off its back, gave it a toweling. Arkansas Kid came out next start and won the Bobby Lewis on the quick 7-day backup. I like this horse. Gate 3 is a little bit of a trick. Jamie Carr's going to have to be at her absolute best. But if she gets the splits on this horse each way, I want to be with A Little Deep. So there's 6 horses there, 3 races. I think hopefully we can get some results there. So that's my set. Okay, snap or don't snap this week, punters. Obviously, the idea of this segment, we're going at 82%, is to be able to identify when a horse is going to firm in, so we snap it or don't snap. Keep your powder dry. We're not saying don't back it because it can't win. We're just saying you're going to get a better price come race day. As I said, we're at 82% from 44 selections. I'm going to start us off, JJ. I'm going with, in the first race, Rise to It. It's just a horse I just can't get anywhere near the market. Couldn't get it anywhere near when it started, just about favourite last start. had it much bigger. Look, it sort of held its price in that race, but I just want to be against that form line. It's around $6.50. I think you're going to get better than that. Not saying it can't win, but I think you're going to get a better price about it in the first. Silmarillion in race 4. We spoke about this when I spoke about my set, that I wanted a different form line. Yes, it won impressive. Well, did power away in the last 200 metres. $2.50 favourite. I've just got that race rating no good at all. So $3.40 Silmarillion. If you like it, I think you're going to get better come race day, that horse. And in the last race, this is a horse called Red Card, who's around $4.85 with points bet at the moment. I think you're going to get a better price about this horse. Comes out of a pretty good race last start behind I Am Me, which rated really well, and that horse has been touted as possibly an Everest horse. Just don't know where it's at sometimes, and I'm just a little bit wary of the draw, where it lands with Zara in the saddle. So I think the $4.85, you're going to get a little bit better about Red Card in the last race. Also worth noting, it's had 2 goes at Caulfield, and not something I usually play into historical data at tracks because there's a lot of factors in that. But it did get beaten as a $1.40 favourite, couldn't run a drum, and then at about $3.70 as well. It missed out there as well. So I just don't know it around Caulfield Red Card. So they're the 3 that I'm not snapping. I think you're going to get a better price come at race day. JJ, I think you're in the same boat with your don't snaps. You got 2.
Yeah, got a couple, one sort of early on and one towards the end of the day. The first one comes up in race number 3. It's Call Me Vexatious. One last start by, I think it was 5 1/4 lengths. But it was on a 7-day back up there, got things to suit, and probably didn't beat a lot. I don't think the horses behind it rated that well. Now it goes back to the 2 weeks break, carries 61.5. I think it rises 4 kilos with a couple of better horses in the race. And I think I mentioned Bolshoi Bell mapping in behind it. I think 280 is bottom odds for Call Me Vexatious. I reckon if you wait, you'll get sort of $3 plus about it in the third. And in the last race, Dyer, won on debut, didn't beat a lot. I sort of fell into it its next run, or its next prep, basically. It had a bit of a let up, and I thought it jumped out okay and was ready to do something in a weak race. It went poorly. Since then, we've seen it jump out a couple of times. It hasn't gone any better. I put the shades on it, had a jump out with the shades on. Again, I wasn't impressed. Sort of $8. I reckon it jumps double figures. I'd be surprised if it can win. So I'm happy to be against Dyer and Call Me Vexatious in races 3 and 9.
Okay, punter, so there's our snap or don't snaps. And as you can see, there's 5 don't snaps. So as we're saying not saying they can't win, but I'd be holding off until you have your bet till as late as you can, because I think you're going to get a better price, which in essence means if they win, you're going to get more cash in your pocket. It becomes my favourite segment again of the week, JJ. It's Pin the Tail. So last week we spoke about Pride of Jenny, and to be honest, I'm probably lucky to get one here because I think we're both pretty poor with the predicted SP starting price of PointsBet of Pride of Jenny. So the overall score now becomes 5-4. I've taken the break. You'd think I'd probably serve well and win the first set, you would expect. But just going back to Pride of Jenny, I selected $7. I thought she would SP with PointsBet. You went with $8. She ended up SPing $5. So there's good support for Pride of Jenny. And she ran right up to that, obviously just getting touched out by Mr. Brightside. So I think we need to improve off that, but I will take the point. Don't worry about that. I'm not going to make that a no result, that's for sure.
No,
this
I
week,
didn't expect you to.
Yeah, this week we're going to the favourite in the Underwood Stakes, which is Pericles. We've spoken about this horse a little bit in the Group 1 set and where we think it might land. I've settled with $4 for this horse. I'm just not sold on it as a traditional. Now, this is not a solid Group 1 race, so you don't have to worry about that, Pericles is not a Group 1 winner. There's no issue there. You just have to worry about what it's running against. Just don't know from a map perspective. I've got the Moonee Valley race not rating that well. I know he started a $1.90 favourite and was rock solid in that, and to be honest, put the race to bed probably at the 300 metre mark and then probably idled down a little bit. But I've got that race not rating overly well, and I've got a few other races from Sydney going a little bit better with different form lines. So I've settled on $4 for Pericles. He's currently $3.10 with PointsBet. Where did you land with Pericles, and sort of what was your reasoning around it?
I'm with you. I know obviously as a younger horse it got over a trip, but it's a lot of horses win Oaks and Derbies and things that are not true stayers. It's just got a touch of class. I know it put the race away last start of the home turn, but the last 100, it was paddling. It was really paddling, which might not bother too many people, but I thought, as you said, drawn 11 against some sort of better opposition. If it has to work a bit early, will it be strong enough late? Especially with that headwind as it comes down the side, approaching the home turn. So I've got it marked, I reckon, about $4, 100% mark at $4.05 from memory. So I'll put $3.70 as the SP. it's hard because there's so many horses that are first up in the race to know exactly when those movements affect its price as well. If they're all parade poorly and they're not there, the market says they're not there, Pericles probably won't drift. But I'm with you. I think it'll drift. I think between the two of us, if you're watching the show and you want to know a collective opinion, it would be to probably wait with Pericles because I think it'll drift a bit as well.
Yeah, 100%. It's currently $3.10. JJ's marked at $3.70 for this segment, and I've marked at $4. So if you do like Pericles, I think I'd be keeping the powder dry. Obviously, with that horse, I think you'll get a better price come race day. That's Pin the Tail this week, which if you haven't heard before, I'm leading 5-4. All right, we're near the end, JJ. It's Plays of the Day. You can kick us off because I think you are kicking the dew off the ground at Morphettville Parks.
I am. I'll be out there for the sausage sizzle in the morning. Gold Rush Guru in the first. Look, I quite like when you see a 3-year-old that's been racing against the older horses come back to its own age when there's no real up-and-comers or stars in that age group, and I think that's the case here. It's got 60 kilos, which hopefully it scares a few off and it drifts. I think it's a big, strong horse. I think the extra trip won't worry it, and I don't think the 60 kilos will worry it either. So Gold Rush Guru in the first for me.
Okay, so JJ's playing in the first at Morphettville Parks. I'm actually waiting till the last at Caulfield, each way, a little deep. I think it's in career best form. Yes, it's going to need a little bit of luck, but J-Car Magic from gate 3, I think it can just find the luck at the right time. It can power over the top. I love its last 2 figures, best figures, I think just about in the race. So if we can get some luck, I'm with a little deep each way in the last. JJ plays in the first. They are our Plays of the Day. Okay, JJ, we might have to rename this segment something to do with the Samurai Mind. We can't really get the fox into it, but we're still going with the stupid as a fox. But it is about a Samurai Mind. So we spoke about off the top that you won the race last week. For the punters out there that are probably following this horse, got the Foxcatcher colours, so you get on board. What's the next step for him? Has he come through the race well? Obviously, he was off 7 weeks, so did he come through it okay? And where's the next race planned for a Samurai Mind?
Yeah, he did. I was out at the stables on Monday having a look at him, and he put him in a sand roll and he was having a good kick, and he looked pretty fresh. He's definitely stripped a bit fitter. Like, he's a horse that, if you probably looked at him on Saturday, you would have said he looks perfect, but he's a horse that normally doesn't carry a lot of condition when he's fully fit. He's quite lean. So I think he'll trim up a little bit next week when he runs.
Just on that, when you see the horse, I remember being there on Derby Day with another prominent owner, and he went and looked at the horse, and he said that he's never looked at a more worse-looking horse in his life, especially for a Group 1 parade. So is he still looking like a dusty old goat?
He takes after his owner, and he's not much to look at, but he's got a big heart. I can tell you about that. But no, he's not the most attractive horse. He's long. I'll tell you what. In 12 months, he will be. He'll be a beautiful swan in 12 months' time, not a dusty goat, whatever that is. But he probably looked better to the untrained eye, I'll say, last Saturday. But I reckon next week, if you see him, and you might see him at Sandown just quietly.
Okay,
over
so what are we doing? What are we doing?
I think he'll come over the border.
Is that the plan? Yep.
Yeah, there's the Murray Bridge Cup is an option here. That's a handicap worth 120,000. If he was to win that, he'll get slugged some points. If he goes over to Caulfield, it's $130,000 benchmark 78. So he'll cop his Sandown, He'll cop 4 points for winning that. So to me, it makes more sense to go over and have a crack at that race. He's still got a little bit of a niggle with his hoof, but he came through the run pretty well on Saturday. It's going to take another couple of months to grow out, to be honest. So we'll give him 1 or 2 more and then probably chuck him in the paddock. But at this stage, grand final day at Sandown, hopefully I'll be there.
Okay, well, that's very good also, because I think PointsBet might get the sanctum of a Samurai Mind next when it runs on grand final day at Sandown. So punters, look out for that. There might be some content coming your way for a Samurai Mind next week at Sandown. That has been the show. Well done, JJ. Thanks for getting through it. And I'll probably see you next week, actually, if you bring that dusty old goat over, and we'll catch up. So thanks very much, mate.
I'll tether it over at Barwon Heads, and it can mow your lawn for a bit. How about that?
Very good. Needs some mowing too. And if it could kick a dog in the head, it might help as well. Thanks, mate.
See ya.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget, like and subscribe. What was that?
Imagine what you could be buying instead.
For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.